Hey listeners, in this episode we're going to discuss the latest DC film Shazam. We're going to compare the comic book to the film itself and talk about how Shazam's story fits into the DC universe. This is episode 131 of the Reel-ists Podcast. Hello, listeners. Welcome to the Reel-ists Podcast. I'm Donnie.
And I'm Oscar.
And we have our producer, Ruben, here.
Hi.
Yeah. Anyways, no, Ruben said hi, everyone. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We are thrilled to have you here because this is going to be a really exciting episode because this is Oscar's favorite movie of 2019 so far.
Thanks for the spoiler.
I don't know if it's your favorite, but it's one of your favorites. I'll just say that. Right?
That's true. That is true.
It's DC, so it has to be one of your favorites.
Exactly. It automatically gets minimum 3 out of 5. Just kidding.
Jeez, like it cannot possibly get anything lower than that.
Doesn't that apply for you and Amy Adam movies? Automatically, at the very least, a 3 out of 5 because she's in
I'd have to think about it, but for the most part, yeah. Although I didn't love Nocturnal Animals, but that's another discussion. But thank you guys so much for tuning in / joining. Twining is what I was trying to say. Before we get into the episode, I want to quickly remind you guys we're on social media: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Team Reel-ists at Team REELISTS no dash. You can also find us on YouTube and leave us a comment on YouTube. You can also find us on iTunes, rate us on iTunes, and leave us a comment as well. If you would like to give us some constructive criticism, some feedback, anything, any tips, any suggestions you guys have as to how we can better improve our podcast, we're always about that. So anything you guys want to share with us, we would greatly appreciate it. So with that being said, we will jump right into a spoiler discussion of DC's newest and latest film, Shazam.
Shazam! So I gotta say it.
Yeah. Now we're superheroes.
Like you want to turn it.
Now we're superheroes.
Hello.
So this was a long anticipated movie, I think, for both of us, specifically for you.
Yes.
So Oscar, why don't you start us off with your quick thoughts, what you thought of Shazam? Shazam! Now we got to say it like that throughout the whole episode.
Sounds good to me. But no, I mean, I really enjoyed this movie. We talked a little bit after seeing it, and you kind of said you thought it was going to be more comedic, and I did too as well. So I'm glad that it actually wasn't full-on comedy. It's not like a parody of like superheroes. It's a full
which
superhero
I think it could
movie.
kind of, the trailer can kind of come off that way a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. It's a full-on superhero movie. However, it's a superhero movie in a different angle outside of like, oh, I was given these powers, I got to do him from good. There's my villain, I got to stop him. This was a little bit more in the mixture of, I didn't expect these powers, and I'm trying to adjust, but at the same time, I'm only 14/15 years old. So you still have your common things you deal with in life, in this particular case, Billy Batson is also an orphan. So that's something else he also has to tackle on, in addition to like, going through high school and not feeling like he fits in, and, who is he? So a lot of those kinds of things. There were some dark moments as well that I didn't expect. And dark in the sense of like you for a second you can be like, whoa, are they really showing like this? And I think like the biggest example you could probably think of was like the 7 deadly sins attacking those people in the conference room. That kind of dark, where it's just like, you would think normally in a standard movie they would just like give you the indication that they're going to be attacked and the like camera pans away, but in this case they actually show it. So I think it was like that kind of dark, not like dark in the, he's bleeding out and has only 5 seconds to live and something like that. I don't know, something that kind of twisted.
Charger paddles at 200.
Right, exactly. But yeah, so there's that kind of nice touch to it that I didn't expect as well. And the characters are really just likable. I think Zachary Levi really gives you a likable personality and believable in the sense that he's playing the character that Asher Angel plays as well. So it felt like they were the same character. It didn't feel like this was the actor trying to, take the spotlight and be like, I'm a superhero, all eyes on me. It was kind of more going with the story that he fits. And the funny moments were genuinely funny for most of them. A few, obviously, that, depends on individual taste. may hit or miss, but for the most part, they're generally good, and a lot of DC references, and so that's always a pleasant treat for me. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I was expecting a more comedy approach, and I thought it was going to be like one of those, you enjoy it once and you're done, but I can easily see this multiple times.
Okay. So a little synopsis for the film. Billy Batson is a streetwise 14-year-old who can magically transform into the adult superhero Shazam simply by shouting out one word. His newfound powers soon get put to the test when he squares off against the evil Dr. Thaddeus Sivana.
We did get a little villain backstory in this movie too.
Yeah, we did. I will say, I did really like the film. Like you were saying, I thought the trailer made me think that it was going to kind of be sort of slightly spoofy, in terms of a superhero film. But I think
Deadpool in a way, but
yeah, but not graphic or vulgar.
Yeah, exactly.
But although this film did have, it's PG-13, right? Because they were dropping a lot of SH bombs, and I was like, okay, but I guess that's just standard for PG-13 now,
right?
Apparently, it's perfectly okay to say that. But I really did like the film. I like that I think like it touched perfectly on the comedic points, on the kind of heartfelt emotional points, and on the superhero kind of action points as well. I think it was well rounded in that aspect. And I think that the actors, there's the three main actors that carried the film: Zachary Levi, Asher Angel, and homeboy who played Freddy, Jack Dylan Grazer. I think they all did great. Obviously Zachary Levi was, I think, perfectly cast to play Shazam, like the adult version of Shazam. I feel like he really embodied like a youthful presence and like a teenage boy kind of geeking out, like, oh my god, I'm a superhero, like this is so cool. And we got a lot of pretty funny comedic moments in that. So my first question, you kind of touched on it already, but you felt like Asher Angel and Zachary Levi kind of embodied the same person.
I did.
Did you feel like there was any? Because at first, I will say, I was like, there were times, at least for me, I just felt like that sometimes I felt like they embodied the same person, but maybe they were just, it was a little different. I felt like Asher Angel was more, I don't know. I feel like he could have maybe let loose a little more,
right,
or been a little more loose with it, because I feel like I totally got that from Zachary Levi when he was on screen, and totally like, yo, this is awesome. And then like when Asher Angel was on screen as Billy Batson, it was like, I don't know. It seemed a little more slightly muted, a little more serious.
I would say it took its time in the beginning for us to really appreciate Asher Angel as Billy Batson in the movie. You kind of were a little bit more of like, let's get to Shazam. Like, we know he's coming, so let's not try to, extend this too long.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was one of those. So at first you got that muted. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Muted. That muted personality.
Suited
where
and booted.
You got that kind of personality that was just like, on the downside, not really looking optimistic. Is tired of this foster, family run through, the cycling through and looking for his mom. So it was like he wasn't in the best state of mind. And then he gets his power, and then you see Zachary Levi kind of like flipping out and like enjoying that he has powers and stuff. And I feel like it took a time for us to see that with Billy Batson as that character, with the actor. So I feel like it did take its time to find that footing. But once both of them realized that the kind of purpose this character can really serve in terms of like, being a superhero, I think it started to get more in tune. But I would say, at first it was kind of like almost opposites, it felt like, but it slowly climbed towards a common ground where you felt like, yes, him turning into Shazam was still him, but a superhero.
Right. Absolutely. And I felt like Freddy was, obviously, like, I think of what's his name again?
Asher Angel?
No, the actor who played
Jack Dylan Grazer?
Jack Dylan Grazer. It's a long name.
Right.
I can't remember all those names.
You want to go talk to him about
Jack Dylan
that?
Grazer. Like, okay, first decision as your new agent, we're just going to call you Jack Grazer. No, but I felt like he did a really phenomenal job. He's just such a good actor, and such a, he's going to have such a long career, hopefully. We've seen him so far in It. We've seen him in Beautiful Boy, and now this, and then he's going to be obviously in the sequel to It. But I felt like he really I'd say like him and Zachary Levi really carried the film.
Oh yeah.
And they had just such good chemistry, and it felt really authentic. And it was like, I think that was kind of seeing them, not only them as actors, but their characters, Freddie and Billy, forming a bond and a friendship, and as foster brothers. I felt like that was really a driving force for the film, and really seeing them bond. That was really, really nice to see. And I getting emotional thinking about it. No, but I did think they did really well, and the actors and the performances. I wanted to ask you, because I obviously don't know much. I didn't know about Shazam. Let's just keep it real. I didn't know much about Shazam prior to the film. So do you have any... this was a comic, obviously.
Right.
Did you read any of this? Did you know? I mean, you knew him pretty well. You knew what he was about.
Yes. So, I've always viewed him as a copy of Superman, pretty much practically growing up, just because he was always viewed as an optimistic kind of hero, and kind of like in the same light that Superman was originally portrayed before. People were like, well, what if Superman was dark? What if Superman, lost Lois Lane and decided to kill everyone? Like before, went in those kind of stories with Superman, It was always that kind of personality. So it was always viewed by that, and also the powers were very similar: strength, invulnerability, and those kinds of simple things. But it always stayed that to me for that point. It wasn't until Jeff Johns did his own run of the character that introduced a lot of interesting elements from the foster, being a foster kid. That was always there, but he ran with it and used the family as a good way to separate Billy Batson from just being a typical kid, and introduce new characters to his life. Gave him a great supporting cast, because his supporting cast, it gets a little weird. But essentially, he had an uncle that also had powers. He had a tiger that was mythical, so it wasn't like a tiger you just see at the zoo.
The uncle did.
No, Billy Batson.
Oh,
so that's what I'm saying. There was a lot of odd things. And Mary, who was the foster sister, was biological sister. I don't know if they're gonna ever take that with the movie.
Oh, they are okay.
Originally in the comics, they were biological related. Now it's foster related.
Oh, okay.
So,
but we might learn down the
right. Well, if they decide to approach that. Spoilers, I guess.
I don't know if that was a spoiler discussion in general. If we didn't mention that already.
But so that's that was things with the comics that to me was just I'm not sure what they're doing with the character, but with the recent takes they've been doing and the family incorporation to it, I feel like that's definitely been a positive, and that's what this movie really focuses on and highlights off of, with some love for the past and in terms of the costume look and all that stuff. So yeah, what was your question?
Oh no, I was gonna just ask you. Can you just tell me a little bit about the comic and how the comic compares to what we got in the film?
Oh,
so what the slight differences or the different nuanced.
Right. So most of the stuff that you see in the movie are from the recent comics. I would say that goes maybe back 2011, 2012. But the character has been for a long time, a little bit. I would say about, and I may be off here just a tight, maybe 10 years after Superman debuted. This was Captain Marvel was his original name, and he was just as popular as Superman when they were
Shazam's original name was Captain Marvel?
It's Captain Marvel, yes.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, and then the whole
whoa. Yeah, right. Well, not to be confused with Marvel's right. Captain Marvel.
So that was the thing. So he was the original Captain Marvel before Captain Marvel
was Captain Marvel.
But because she was always called Miss Marvel.
Oh, okay.
She was never
Okay,
there could be
we're treading into some
history here.
Yeah,
so it's a whole different kind of conversation. But essentially, he was always originally as popular as Superman. But DC Comics bought the publishing comics that Captain Marvel, aka Shazam, was part of. So they kind of were able to bring his popularity down in a way by promoting Superman more. But yeah, he's always been the same kind of a kid with superpowers and transforms into a superhero with the word of Shazam. So that has always remained the same, given to by a wizard. All those core aspects remain the same. The only thing that's been introduced more so is his background in terms of that he's with the family, a foster family, and that like angle of he's a little bit more optimistic than what he was before. Before he was just like more of a like naive kid, and now he's more of like self-aware and intelligent in his own way as a teenager.
Yeah. And
good-hearted always.
Okay, so as you were discussing all of that, I had some questions arise in my head that maybe you can answer.
Okay.
So when Billy Batson does grow into like adult size, does the same thing apply? He just says Shazam and he turns into a superhero?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not like you have to be a kid. I mean, it just so happens that he's like a teenager, but he was like the chosen one to be Shazam. But once he grows up, he's still, same things apply.
Right.
Okay. B, between him and Superman, because we were talking about all the powers he has, and you were telling me about this last night. You were saying that Shazam is the acronym for all the gods, for all the basically capabilities that he gets from the gods.
Right.
Solomon granting increased intellect, the superhuman strength of Hercules, superhuman stamina of Atlas, powers from Zeus, courage of Achilles, and superhuman speed of Mercury. So between Shazam and Superman, is there going to be a winner? Let's say they both face off. Who would win? Or would it just be like stalemate, like they both are just equally as powerful?
If you're going based off of strength, Superman would have the slight advantage. The only thing is that Shazam does have magical based powers that damage Superman more so than just an average like strong person. And that's kind of something like that's always been an advantage. So the lightning that Shazam can shoot, which kind of is like new, it's kind of like that wasn't always the case, but that would hurt Superman. And if Superman were to get hit by the lightning that he shouts from Shazam, would also hurt Superman. So Superman can get like weakened a lot by Shazam, but I think Superman, based off of strength and based off of how strong Superman can really be, I would say Superman would be the winner. But Shazam would definitely be like Superman makes one wrong mistake, Shazam can easily win.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. I was just curious because where I was telling you last night, I'm like, so they both are super strong, super fast. Like, I'm like, who the hell would win if they both were to face off against each other? But
I mean, it depends because like people like to say Superman, is very, very strong and that he holds back. A lot of the time, the comics like to say he's holding back from his true power because he's a good guy and he doesn't, want to just easily grab someone and break their bones or anything like that. So he's like holding back as much as he can. So if you're going by that, then Superman has a little bit more strength than Shazam.
Right. Well, luckily there was a nice little nod to Superman there at the very last scene of the film, which was pretty cool.
There's some drama behind that too.
Is there?
Yeah. Do you want the tea? Do you want the?
I mean, just quickly, like, what is? Yeah, spill the tea quickly.
I mean, we
already said this was a spoiler discussion. So in the very end, at the very last scene, Shazam, Billy Batson is in Shazam form, comes to school to show everyone that he is friends with Freddy. So they'll stop picking on him. And then he's like, and I brought another friend with me. And they show Superman that with just his body, not his face. But we're like, and it's like, oh my God. So Superman and Shazam are both at the school with Freddy. But what's the drama?
So the short form of it was essentially there's negotiation disputes between Henry Cavill and Warner Brothers into continuing him as Superman. So as of right now, there's no official state that he is Superman. So they filmed this scene in the case that if he doesn't continue as Superman, they can recast him. So that's why they don't show the face.
I figured that was. I mean, yeah,
it was more a negotiation for that. There are rumors that Henry Cavill did film a scene in case like they were able to get an agreement. They can switch it out for the correct scene, but it sounds like they did not. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So, but it's still his costume, so you can imagine if he does become Henry Cavill, you can just be like, oh, he didn't have time to film the scene or something.
Right.
But yeah, that's a little tea for that.
Messy, just gossiping, just telling everybody business. Thank you for your insider information.
Exclusive.
Yeah, right. Seriously. Very cool. Well, I wanted to talk about the villain of this film. So we have Mark Strong playing Dr. Thaddeus Sivana. So the film pretty much opens up with him as a child, and him basically coming into contact with Shazam for the first time, where who was played by Jaiman Hansu. Who's basically testing him and, you know, saying, you're the worthy one, but can you, basically it was like a ball. And so this is where I got a little confused. So the ball that was kind of hovering on that little mantle that he picked up, that was like what, the temptation? That was all the sins encapsulated. I mean, the 7 sins were, I know, in like gargoyle form in those statues, right? But what was the ball? Like, that was like...
It was...
Because that was where you were being tested as if you were worthy or not to become Shazam.
Right. It was the 7 deadly sins power, essentially.
Like, it's their essence.
Right. Right. And the problem would be that if you're tempted to it,
then you're not worthy enough.
You can easily be manipulated by them. So that was So
he was not worthy enough. Thaddeus Sivana.
Right.
Does he have a name, or did we just call him that?
No, Dr. Sivana.
Okay, Dr. Sivana. And then, and I feel like they were kind of trying to, like, I mean, yeah, they were trying to give us a little tiny mini origin story, but also, I feel like they were trying to, like, make us empathize with him slightly. Because I'm not gonna lie, I mean, he seemed like his father, he had, like, a jerky older brother, and his father, who was, like, yelling at him, and it kind of seemed to favor the older brother, and he kind of seemed like the outcast of the family, or the black sheep. So I did feel really bad for him, I'm not gonna lie.
And he makes a good point too. Like, you just told a kid he's not worthy. Like, that can really
mess you up.
Yeah.
And, you know, especially, hearing something like that as a kid, you know, and I don't think, I mean, obviously Jaiman Hansu didn't mean to, like, you know, place years of self-doubt and unworthiness on this poor little child, but he was just, you know, he's trying to find the next Shazam, so he's got to, like, be straight up, like, you're not the chosen one. So that was kind of sucky, but I wanted to say I felt like the whole Dr. Sivana being the villain, other than getting that beginning scene, I didn't really feel like he wasn't my favorite villain. He wasn't like someone I super really, like, feared and felt like he's like gonna really destroy the world kind of deal.
He had an understanding reason for his villain acts and his crimes, but no, ultimately it came off more as he was greedy with the power and he didn't want to be taken away from that power, so he's willing to do whatever it came, which is accurate to the sense of that's the character. The character's always been desiring power, and always trying to get Shazam's power, so it makes sense. I mean,
and if we're talking of, like, 7 deadly sins, it sounds like greed was the one that he's more drawn to, because
which is why it stayed back, right? Wasn't something like that, like, before?
Or no, was it envy? Wasn't it envy?
Oh yeah, one of those.
I felt
we got to watch.
Sometimes I feel like those kind of go hand in hand. Like, if you're greed and envy, I don't know.
That's a different topic.
Yeah, I know. That's another discussion.
I will say the one thing that did not, I mean, the bother in the sense was I didn't like the 7 deadly sins poofing in and out. I was just like, either you stay and you, like, terrorize, or you don't stay and you don't terrorize. I didn't like that they kept, like, poof, 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 poof.
Yeah. Kind of come and go as they please.
Right.
Speaking of that, that kind of brings us to, like, the whole standoff that happens between Shazam and Dr. Sivana. And it kind of happens in this kind of, like, amusement park fair thing, which was fun and everything. And I get it's like a family film, but I feel like that really brought it down to, like, this should be like a PG kind of film, with that whole, like, them being in, like, or like even like the gargoyles, like, you know, trying to, like, bring down the Ferris wheel and everything. It felt like a little kids movie to me, which I wish, you know, I don't know. I feel like we had a good kind of tone, and you know, you're, like, dropping, you know, the SH word, like, pretty often in the film, and I don't know. I felt like it was cool, but then it's like to kind of end this battle in that kind of setting, it felt really kind of kiddish. I wish they could have done that. That's one of the critiques I have, specifically for that scene. I wish they would have had it somewhere else, or had it end up somewhere else. I mean,
the reason for that was the budget. They only had like about $60 million in the budget, which is not too common for superhero films. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure the next film will get a higher budget. So you probably will get a better fight location and stuff. But no, yeah, that one was. There were many times where I was like, this is like losing its like superhero. It's kind of tough because it's a family film, yes, but at the same time, it was losing like some kind of, not credibility, but in that kind of sense of, it was like losing any ability to be like, I could take this serious for a second. The jokes in itself, it's making fun of what a superhero is and the things that they do. Like the liquor store scene when, he stops the bad guys, and like those weren't bad, but this one was like the Ferris wheel and then two people are on it and, we have to save them kind of thing.
Kind of like cliche, like
right, and it didn't also help that at this moment they also reveal, which is one of the secrets that the trailers don't show, which is actually pretty awesome.
It's kind of like it's a surprise twist.
Yeah,
kind of.
Was that the foster kids become superheroes as well?
See, that part I did like. That aspect of it I did like. Yeah. But it would have been nice.
But it kind of goes with
the
that
location would have been different.
Right. It kind of goes together with that whole like. It would seem like it could have completely gone off and it would have lost interest from everyone, but it just still managed to stay on track. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was one of those. It was like, clearly the budget was small. We can tell here.
Right.
But yeah.
That's, it is what it is. Right? The second one will be better.
Right. I mean, I'm sure. And I mean, we'll have to see how the box office does, because it's not going to do what Captain Marvel or Aquaman or Wonder Woman are doing.
Right.
But we'll see if it at least keeps momentum before the end of April, because the other movie will take over at that point.
The other movie?
The other movie.
I was like, are we not saying it? We can't
Avengers Endgame.
Okay, so that answers the question I was going to ask you. Do you think there will be a Shazam 2? But if there is, which
I think so.
I mean, I think it's pretty well received so far. Good, really good Rotten Tomato score so far.
Right. Second highest outside of Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I know, that's crazy. I wanted to say, aside from hoping to get a bigger budget and to be able to do more things visually or better locations, story wise, what would you want to see for a sequel? Well, because here's the thing.
Go ahead.
I don't have a thing.
Oh.
No, I was gonna say I really liked the whole. All the foster kids becoming superheroes as well, and that was really fun. And I think it overall just kind of reiterates the theme of, I feel like a big part of this film too was one of the themes of it was really trying to like push the whole, your family can be anyone you allow it to be sort of thing, and it doesn't have to be blood relation. You can create your own family, and they can be just as loving and loyal and
right.
and unifying as your blood given family. So I really liked that it was kind of like a physical representation of it's like, I can be a superhero, you can be a superhero, but we can all be superheroes together, but like we can all be family together. I really liked that, and so that's one of the things that I would. Well, I don't know. I'll let you go first. What do you want to see for the second film? Would you want to see that theme continue? Do you want to see the foster kids? How does it in the comics, is that how it is? Like they're all.
I mean, that's new. That's the tough part. Is that's relatively new and it hasn't been really explored. So it's starting to be explored, and this is kind of where the post credit scene. So the two post credit scenes. The first one was related to like where the story can continue with the caterpillar, which again, that's what I'm saying. Like Shazam had a weird cast. Was that one of his villains was a super intelligent caterpillar, referred to as Mr. Mind.
Okay.
So he essentially, there's like this whole recent comics of 7 realms, and like it's still relatively new, so I don't have like full details of what they contain, but it's just like a whole nother land that Shazam is gonna have like connections to. Mm-hmm. So then it might go that angle. The most popular one, and probably the one that most fans would want to see, is him fighting Black Adam, which was the first champion. If you remember in the movie when he mentions that they selected someone and he used it for the wrong reasons and started going evil, that itself was Black Adam, who is essentially the evil version of Shazam. That's the most popular villain of Shazam, and it's gonna. So a few years ago, it was announced he was gonna be played by The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. So supposedly, and if it all goes according to plan, he's gonna have his solo movie first, and then at some point he's gonna fight Shazam.
Oh, okay.
So we'll see how that also develops.
So he's a villain and he's going to get his own movie.
Right.
Oh.
Supposedly.
Whoa, okay.
We'll see. We'll see how that comes through.
Yeah.
So that's currently
like
where...
Thanos getting his own film.
Right. But it's The Rock, so you already know it's going to be like... But it's going to be interesting because he's a villain, so most of the time...
That's true. I don't think he's...
Most of it...
I've never seen him as
his last
play a
few
villain.
movies have been good, like good
Was
heroes.
he a villain in like the... He was a hero in The Scorpion King, right?
No, he was a villain, but he was very small. He was a very minor villain.
But didn't he get his own movie? Like, wasn't that its own movie?
Yeah, and he got its own movie.
And he was villain in that?
Oh, maybe not.
Okay, I didn't see it.
That was just like I think that was explaining his downfall, maybe.
Oh, okay. You seen that, Ruben?
No, but I know which one.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think
I saw the trailer once.
I think the last villainish role he played was in Fast 5 when he was trying to stop the crew. Mm-hmm. I think that was probably like the last closest bad.
And he really wasn't even a villain.
Right,
It was just the antagonist of the film. But yes,
exactly.
Okay.
So,
Gotcha.
so that's where that's currently at. So it essentially what I would want to see would be what the fans want to see in him fighting Black Adam. Whether that's The Rock or not, that part I'm not too necessarily attached to. But that's eventually the bigger picture I want to see. Mm-hmm. But I'll be interested to see if they do the 7 realms kind of thing. But I feel like that would be repetitive from Aquaman. But anyways, we'll see.
It's always 7 realms. Like,
right,
man.
why 7? Right. 7 deadly sins,
I know.
7 realms. Oh, maybe the 7 deadly sins are related to these 7 realms. That would make sense. Who
Maybe
knows?
every
Right.
deadly sin is from a realm?
Right.
Who knows? Maybe. We don't know. Well, was there a particular scene or a favorite scene you had from Shazam?
I did like the...
I already know what you're going to say. Can I predict it?
Okay, I guess.
I think you're going to say when they were trying to test out what his powers were?
No.
Oh, okay. That's where you're wrong.
I did like the scene where they were fighting for the first time, and Shazam was having at first he was like,
who was fighting?
Shazam and Dr. Sivana.
Okay.
When they first met, and he was like, "Oh, you're my villain. You're my you're my villain." And then he's like getting his butt whooped. Like I liked that part because that's when he was slowly starting to realize that it's not a game anymore, and he was actually like running because he was scared.
Yeah.
And that kind of still reflect that he's still a 14-year-old boy who's like that kind of thing. I liked that aspect. I'm not saying this is my favorite scene, but I thought it was a really strong scene, was when we see the mom and him reunite, and the mom essentially still rejects him. Mm-hmm. I thought that was really tough to just be like, because that's the case for some people. Not everyone has a happy ending.
Yep.
And that was really tough to just be like, wow, she's really rejecting his son or her son. So not that, but that wasn't a favorite scene, but that was just a strong scene that like helped make this movie like have, again, it's like darker themes or like kind of like truth bombs in a way.
Yeah. Like it's not shying away from like brutal realities.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. That's one of and I did appreciate that the film did it. It had its lighthearted, funny comedic moments, but it also like didn't shy away from some
like the
issues that
Foster, the entire Foster like plot line was like a very grounded take on it.
Yeah. And I like it. It was just woven into the story very nicely. Well, the scene that I guess was your favorite scene, those are actually some of my favorite scenes. The whole, him,
because
Freddy,
it was different, yeah,
them trying to test out the powers and
you're
and
invisible. I'm invisible.
Yeah, and I like that they were uploading them on YouTube, very current to the times now, and it's always cool to like see. I always enjoy seeing a film where the world knows that superheroes exist. and it's not like they're trying to stay secret about it, or it's like, you know, like it's just a common thing. It's always interesting. So it's like the fact that they would be posting videos, you know, a bunch of
teenagers.
It's teenagers, like they're gonna do that, and they're, you know, like trying to figure out all these crazy superpowers. Like I really liked that. And this is just a small scene, but I really almost shed a tear at the kind of one of the last scenes when they were all at the dinner table, and Billy said, you know, hands in, everyone, because that was kind of the thing that the foster parents did. They were like, hands in, and it's kind of like they're saying grace for dinner, but like all the parents and all the kids would put their hands in together and they'd say a little thing.
Billy was first.
So, and Billy was like really resistant towards that because he was like, you guys aren't my family. But for him to do it at the end, and we kind of see him embrace everyone as family.
Darla was a standout too.
Yeah, she was really good. She was so adorable, and it just broke my heart. It was just like she just so wanted to be a family and wanted to have brothers and sisters. And even when she went to hug Billy, and he was like, "You don't have to, you know, hug me," or like, "I'm not your real brother," and she was like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and it was like, "Oh,
yeah."
That like broke my heart. But
I will say also the scene, I know it was trying to be a spoof, but when he was stopping the robber from like getting the purse from the girl, and she was like, I wasn't in trouble, or like I pepper spray, like, and he was like, "Oh, you got this all figured out."
Yeah, that was a good one. It had a lot of good little moments.
Yeah,
this was a really...
Your phone's charged.
Yeah, that was my... Out of the funny moments, that was my favorite one. And he was like, your phone's charged. And then he charged that one guy. He's like, what the hell? And he like dropped it because it started malfunctioning. Like,
yeah.
They definitely... I feel like it was a great balance of comedy, heartfelt, like drama, and good superhero action. Like, that's what I wanted. And I was hoping I wasn't going to get way more of one from one standpoint than the other. I felt like there was a nice balance. And when we do get Shazam 2 or whatever it's going to be called,
or Justice League 2, just saying. He's introduced. He can be in it now.
That true. That is very true. That'd be insane. Who knows? We'll see. With all that said, Oscar, final real score for Shazam.
My score is going to be a 4.5 out of 5. There were some things that it still was just like. As a film, I felt like it could have been done a little bit differently to make a bigger impact. I would say some, not all, very few, very like 2-3 jokes probably could have been better without. Particularly the one that I really was not like a fan of was when they were fighting and they were in the air towards the end.
I liked that one.
I didn't like. I was like, at this point, just fight. Like, don't break it up to do a joke. Like. I did like with the little kid playing Batman and Superman, and then like they were mimicking in the like outside his window, like they were actually fighting. I liked that, but I didn't like when they were just like, "What? I can't hear you," and the other one's doing his monologue, his villain monologue.
I mean, it was a little like campy, but
yeah, like I feel like at that point, it should have just been, you know, the fight. Like they should have just left.
Like let's just we got the comedy out the way. Let's like focus on the fight and the climax here.
Right. So there was a few little things like that I was just like, all right. I'll take it because I obviously I didn't make the movie. I'll take it, but I would have been better without, or something like altered in a different way and things like that. So yeah, that's kind of my little take. I feel like the designs of the 7 Deadly Sins, while they were definitely creepy, I felt like they were still too similar, and I felt like there should have been a little bit more differences that would have distinguished them. Because I feel like they were all the same color palette. Like, yeah, it looked a little different, but they were all the same color palette.
Yeah, they were all that green,
gray. Yeah,
it would have been nice to really distinguish them. Color could have been done differently. Even just the way they were. I mean, the way they were created. I mean. I don't know.
So yeah,
they did look a little all same, like very similar.
That's why I was saying, yeah, I think like that just gives it a 4.5. But no, it's definitely overall loved the film. Loved that we got a Shazam now, the original Captain Marvel, as people would say.
Okay,
just saying.
I got you.
But, yeah.
I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. I'm not gonna be as generous.
Wow, so rude.
But it's still really, really strong film. Some of the things I wish would have been done differently. One of the things that kind of didn't kill it for me, but that last kind of fighting scene and that whole carnival fair thing just made me feel like I was watching like I don't want to say like super geniuses. Baby geniuses,
right? But I get what you're saying.
But kind of like that,
a
just
direct
like
TV,
they're straight to
home,
DVD kind of, Friday night on Disney Channel kind of film, like Kim Possible that Kim Possible movie. So I wish that could have been done a little bit differently. The 7 deadly sins embodied in these gargoyle forms could have been each one could have been a little more distinct than the other. Jaimon Hansu as Shazam, I didn't really care for his look. That also felt kind of TV movie-ish with this. It just seemed very ostentatious, if you will, very kind of like exuberant with this long gray hair, and maybe that's how he's like this kind of wizard guy, and I know that's the look they were going for, but it just looked kind of like dress up-y, like costume, like I'm going to a Halloween party and I'm gonna play like the Wizard Shazam or something. So I wish
I could see that.
I wish that could have been done. Maybe a little more detail spent, a little more time spent on how we can make him look wizardly and old, but a little more, I guess, realistic or something. I wish could have been done. But overall, the story was great. The characters, the casting was great. All the little Easter eggs, all the little nods to all the other DC superheroes was cool, and I really liked the end credits. All the sketches that they were showing us was really cool.
That was cool.
And I really loved whatever that song was. It was called "I Don't Want to Grow Up," but I was like, it's been in my head since we left the theater. So I'm gonna go download that song now. If it's on,
that's two credit songs that you.
Yeah, I really just a quick little point. I really feel like more movies should be doing that. Really spending time to spend on the credits, because like we were kind of discussing yesterday when we left the Zack Snyder viewing, just how much work goes into the credits. So I think it's nice to stick around.
Just listen to Super Cool like that.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think it's nice though to stick around for the credits and to acknowledge all the work and all the people, all the hands that were in this film.
I will say, you're absolutely right, 100%. But for me, I think my style is I like visuals that they do with the movie more so than like animated stuff. Because I know like Spider-Man not saying the sequel, I haven't even seen the movie, apparently I saw it. Spider-Man Homecoming, they do the same kind of like animation style credits, but to me, like, I really liked Aquaman's like end credits, and I like the song to that. So it's like, to me, like that's the kind of end credits I really, really enjoy, is when they like have that kind. Not to say that the quality for the Shazam one was bad, but it's just like, I don't know, to me, like, that kind of style is more upbeat and fun, but I like the artistic end credit style.
And you even made me think, I just want to throw that out there, the Black Panther end credits too.
Yes,
those were like phenomenal.
Yeah, those were awesome.
So there's another thing. We do like end credits. We do appreciate end credits. I don't think they get the recognition they deserve, but
So when I say the best part was the end credits,
you really are saying something. That I get you. I got it now. But yeah, okay, so sorry, I went on a rant there, but 4 out of 5 was my score. And Ruben is going to be a 1 out of 5 because he hasn't seen it yet, but he will see it next week when it comes out, right?
It was impossible, yeah.
I mean, it wasn't impossible, but I gotcha. But anyways, definitely let us know what your thoughts of Shazam were, listeners. Yeah.
It's out. I mean, at this point, when this episode comes out.
Is it? Yes, it is. Yes, you're right.
So go
it
see
is
it.
out. It ain't no reason for you not to see it.
It's our first time actually doing a movie review before it's released to theaters, so we can promote it.
You know what? I wasn't sure if we were going to tell them that, but we did, so.
Why?
I mean, it wasn't a reason to hide it. I just didn't know if we were going to mention it.
Right.
But we already did, so.
We saw the fan screening. I mean, that was not like it's not like we signed an NDA.
Not like we bootlegged it or something. We didn't download it illegally.
Right, exactly. So
yeah,
go watch Shazam.
Go see it. Go support it. It's a great film. Share your thoughts with us. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and iTunes. Thank you guys so much for listening. We will catch you next time.
Thank you, everyone.